My name is Patricia Anderson, and I'm about to tell you the most painful story of my life. A story about how my beautiful 18-year-old daughter, Emma, went from being an honor student to vanishing into the darkness of Seattle's underground. This happened 7 years ago, but it feels like yesterday. Emma was always the quiet one. While her twin brother Marcus played football and brought chaos into our Michigan home, Emma would sit in her room reading poetry and painting watercolors. She had this way of biting her lower lip when she concentrated, and her laugh. Oh God, her laugh. It was like wind chimes on a summer afternoon. The first signs appeared during her junior year of high school. It started with her wardrobe. The girl who wore oversized hoodies and jeans suddenly showed up to breakfast in tight dresses and heavy eyeliner. When I questioned her about it, she rolled her eyes and said, "It's called growing up, Patricia. Maybe you should try it." Patricia, not Mom. That's when I knew something had shifted. My husband Robert tried to intervene, but he was too heavy-handed. "You look like you're going to a nightclub," he'd shout. "No daughter of mine?" And that's as far as he'd get before Emma would storm off, slamming doors and leaving silence in her wake. I tried a different approach. I attempted to connect with her, asking about her art, her friends, her dreams. But it was like talking to a wall. She'd give me one-word answers, her eyes glued to her phone, her fingers typing messages to people I didn't know. The makeup got heavier, the clothes got tighter. And then came the boys. The first one was Daniel, a college sophomore with a motorcycle and a leather jacket. He was 22. My daughter was 16. When I confronted her, she laughed. "Age is just a number, Mom. You're so old-fashioned." But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Call it mother's intuition or paranoia, but every time I looked at Emma, I saw a stranger wearing my daughter's face. It was a Tuesday in October, when my world imploded. Emma had forgotten her lunch, so I drove to the school to drop it off. The secretary told me Emma hadn't been in class all week. My heart stopped. "There must be some mistake," I stammered. "She left this morning with her backpack. I watched her get on the bus." But there was no mistake. Emma had been marked absent for 4 consecutive days. I called Robert immediately. We both left work and drove home in separate cars, racing against a truth we didn't want to face. Her room looked normal at first glance. Posters of bands I'd never heard of, books stacked on her desk, clothes scattered on the floor. But when I started looking closer, really looking, I found things that made my blood run cold. Hidden in a shoebox under her bed were pills. Not prescription bottles, but little plastic baggies filled with small white tablets. There were empty vodka bottles pushed far back in her closet, and tucked between her mattress and box spring, I found a journal. I shouldn't have read it, I know that. But fear overrode ethics, and I opened it with trembling hands. The entries were devastating. Emma wrote about feeling invisible, about how Dad and I only cared about Marcus and his football games. She wrote about a man she called Jay, who saw her and understood her. She wrote about parties in warehouse districts, about feeling free for the first time in her life. The last entry was dated 3 days earlier. "Jay says we should go to Seattle, start fresh. Mom and Dad won't even notice I'm gone. Marcus is the golden child anyway. Maybe it's time I disappear." I called the police immediately. They took a report, asked questions, looked at photos. But I could see it in their eyes, the resignation. Another teenage runaway, another statistic. "Most of them come home within 48 hours, the officer said, trying to sound reassuring. "Usually they just need to cool off." But Emma didn't come home in 48 hours. Or 48 days, or 48 weeks. The first month was a blur of phone calls and dead ends. I contacted every friend whose number I could find. None of them had seen Emma. Or if they had, they weren't talking. Finally, a girl named Sophia pulled me aside after school one day. Her eyes were red, and she kept looking over her shoulder. "Mrs. Anderson, I need to tell you something," she whispered. "But you can't tell anyone I talked to you." My heart raced. "Anything, please." "Emma," she started hanging out with some older guys. Really old, like 30s. They throw parties in abandoned buildings downtown. There's drugs and other stuff. She swallowed hard. One of them was named Jason. He has this reputation for, recruiting girls. taking them to other cities. Seattle? I asked, my voice barely audible. Sophia nodded. I heard her talking about it. She seemed excited, like she thought it was romantic or something. Mrs. Anderson, I'm scared for her. I thanked Sophia and immediately started planning. Robert tried to stop me. Patricia, we can't just fly to Seattle and wander around hoping to find her, he said, frustration evident in his voice. The police are handling it. The police aren't doing anything, I shouted back. Our daughter is out there, possibly in danger, and you want me to just sit here and wait? I want you to be realistic, he said quietly. What if she doesn't want to be found? That sentence hung between us like a guillotine. The truth neither of us wanted to admit. Emma had chosen to leave. She had chosen a stranger over us. But I didn't care about her choices. I cared about her safety. So I packed a bag, maxed out a credit card for a plane ticket, and flew to Seattle the next morning. Seattle was nothing like Michigan. The rain was constant, a gray curtain that made everything look washed out and dreary. I checked into a cheap motel near Pioneer Square and immediately started walking. I had printed hundreds of flyers with Emma's photo. Missing, Emma Anderson, 16 years old, 5'6", brown hair, hazel eyes. Last seen in Detroit, Michigan. Maybe in Seattle area. Please call with any information. I taped them to telephone poles, bus stops, coffee shop bulletin boards. I handed them to everyone I passed. Businessmen in suits, homeless people with cardboard signs, teenagers with bright hair and multiple piercings. Most people glanced at the flyer and kept walking. Some offered sympathetic looks. A few took the time to really study Emma's face, as if they might recognize her. I see kids like this all the time, one man told me outside a youth shelter. He was a volunteer, late 50s, with kind eyes. Runaways from all over the country. They come here thinking it's different, but the streets are the same everywhere. Have you seen her? I asked desperately. He studied the photo carefully. Maybe. There's a girl who comes through sometimes, but she goes by Ember, not Emma. Could be her, could be someone else. These kids, they change their names like they're changing their identity. He gave me addresses of shelters, soup kitchens, places where runaways congregated. I visited them all. Day after day, I walked miles through Seattle's rain-soaked streets, showing Emma's photo to anyone who would look. At night, I'd return to my motel room and call home. Marcus would answer, his voice tight with emotion he was trying to hide. Any news, Mom? He'd ask. Not yet, sweetie, but I'm getting close. I can feel it. I was lying. I had no idea if I was getting close, but I couldn't bear to hear the defeat in my son's voice, couldn't bear to admit that I might be chasing a ghost. 3 weeks into my search, I got a call from a woman who ran a drop-in center for homeless youth. Mrs. Anderson, I think one of your flyers found its way to me. There's a girl here who looks like your daughter, but she won't give her real name. Can you come down? I ran. Actually ran through the rain, nearly getting hit by a bus in my desperation to reach the address she'd given me. The center was in a converted church, its stained glass windows casting colored light across worn furniture and donated clothing racks. Young people lounged on couches, some sleeping, some staring at phones with cracked screens. The woman who'd called me, Susan, her name tag read, led me to a back room where a girl sat hunched over a bowl of soup. My heart leaped. Brown hair, similar build. From behind, it could have been Emma. Sweetheart, I said softly. The girl turned around. For one glorious second, I thought it was her. But then I saw the eyes, blue, not hazel. The nose, crooked from an old break. The scar on her chin. Not Emma, just another lost girl. I must have made a sound because Susan touched my arm gently. I'm sorry, I really thought. It's okay, I interrupted. Though it wasn't okay at all. Thank you for calling. That happened 6 more times over the next month. 6 times someone called saying they'd seen Emma. 6 times I raced to wherever they'd spotted her. 6 times it was someone else's daughter. Each false alarm chipped away at my hope, leaving raw wounds that never quite healed. I started going out at night. Despite the warnings, despite the danger, I walked through neighborhoods that made even police officers nervous. I handed out flyers in front of bars, clubs, abandoned warehouses where music pounded and shadowy figures moved. People started recognizing me. "You're that mom," they'd say. Some with pity, others with amusement. One man, reeking of alcohol and cigarettes, laughed in my face. "Lady, if your daughter doesn't want to be found, you're wasting your time. Seattle swallows people whole. Maybe she's better off without you." I wanted to hit him. Instead, I walked away, tears streaming down my face. But not everyone was cruel. A young woman named Raven, with purple hair and a nose ring, approached me one night outside a tattoo parlor. "I know someone who might know your daughter," she said quietly. "But you have to promise not to involve cops." "I promise," I said immediately, though I wasn't sure I could keep that promise. Raven led me through a maze of alleys to a squat, an abandoned apartment building where squatters had set up camp. The smell hit me first. Unwashed bodies, marijuana, garbage. Inside, 20 or so people lived in various states of disarray. Sleeping bags on floors, makeshift curtains over broken windows, candles providing flickering light. "Marcus!" Raven called out. Not my son Marcus, but someone else with the same name. A coincidence that made my heart ache. A thin man in his 20s emerged from a back room. His arms were covered in tattoos, his eyes bloodshot but alert. "This is the mom looking for Emma," Raven explained. Marcus, studied me for a long moment. I knew a girl named Emma, or maybe it was Ember. Hard to keep track. Everyone's running from something. "Was she here? Is she here?" My voice came out too loud, too desperate. "Calm down," he said, not unkindly. "She was here, like 2 months ago. Stayed a few nights. But then some guy came looking for her. Older dude, real possessive. She freaked out and took off. Said something about going south, maybe Portland or Sacramento. Did she seem okay?" I asked, needing to know, dreading the answer. Marcus shrugged. "Define okay. She wasn't dead. But she wasn't living either, you know? Just existing, floating." He gave me a few more details. Descriptions of people she'd been with, places she might have gone. It wasn't much, but it was more than I'd had. Before I left, I gave Marcus money. Not because he asked, but because he'd given me something precious. Confirmation that Emma had been alive. At least 2 months ago. It was a Thursday night, 3 months into my search, when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" I answered, heart pounding. Silence, then breathing. "Hello?" I repeated. "Is anyone there?" "Mom!" The voice was small, broken, so different from Emma's usual confident tone that I almost didn't recognize it. "Emma! Emma, oh my God, where are you? Are you okay?" More silence, then crying. Deep, gut-wrenching sobs that made my own tears flow. "Baby, please talk to me. Tell me where you are. I'll come get you right now. No questions, no judgment, just—" "I can't," she whispered. "He's watching. He's always watching." "Who?" "Emma, who's watching you?" "Jason. And others." "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Her words tumbled out in a rush. "I thought he loved me. I thought I was special. But it's not. It's not what I thought. I want to come home, but I can't. They won't let me." My hands shook so badly, I almost dropped the phone. "Emma, listen to me. Where are you? Give me an address, a landmark, anything." "I don't know. I think we're still in Seattle, near the water. I can hear ships." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Mom, I have to go. He's coming back. I'm sorry. I love you. The line went dead. I immediately called the police, gave them every detail of the conversation. They asked technical questions about the call, its duration, background noises. They said they'd look into it. But I knew looking into it meant nothing. I needed to find her myself. For the next week, I haunted the waterfront areas of Seattle. The docks, the piers, the industrial zones where ships came and went. I showed Emma's photo to dock workers, fishermen, warehouse employees. Most shook their heads. But one older man paused. "There's some buildings a few blocks that way," he said, pointing east. "Abandoned warehouses. Word is some bad people use them. Not the kind of place a lady like you should go alone." But I went. Of course I went. The warehouse district was a nightmare landscape of rusted metal and broken glass. Buildings with boarded windows. Graffiti covering every surface. The smell of rotting wood and human waste. I walked carefully, jumping at every sound. In the distance, I could hear voices, music, the sound of something heavy being dragged. One building had light spilling through cracks in its boards. I approached cautiously, peering through a gap. Inside, I could see people. Young people, mostly women, in various states of undress. Men in expensive suits watching, drinking, laughing. My stomach turned. I pulled out my phone to call the police, but before I could dial, someone grabbed my arm. "You lost, lady?" A man with a shaved head and a scar across his cheek leered at me. "I'm looking for my daughter," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Emma Anderson. Someone said she might be around here." His expression changed, became calculating. "Emma, huh? Brunette? Pretty face, attitude problem?" Yes, have you seen her?" He released my arm and stepped back. "Look, I don't want trouble. Whatever arrangement your daughter made, that's between her and management. You need to leave before someone who's less nice finds you here." "I'm not leaving without my daughter," I said, surprised by the steel in my own voice. "Then you're stupider than you look." He glanced over his shoulder. "She's not here anyway. They moved a bunch of the girls last week. Different city." "Where?" I demanded. "Do I look like a travel agent? I just provide security. Now get out of here before I make you." He meant it. I could see violence lurking behind his eyes, barely restrained. So I left, but I memorized everything I could. The building's address, the cars parked outside, the faces I'd glimpsed through the crack. At the police station, I reported everything. The detective assigned to Emma's case, Detective Williams, listened with a tired expression. "Mrs. Anderson, I understand your frustration, but what you're describing is complicated. These operations move frequently. They're hard to track, harder to prosecute. The girls don't testify because they're scared, or because they don't see themselves as victims." "She's 16, I shouted. "She's a child. How is that not trafficking?" "It is," he said quietly. "But proving it, rescuing these girls, dismantling these networks, it takes time and resources we don't always have." I wanted to scream. Instead, I asked, "What am I supposed to do? Just give up?" "No," Detective Williams said. "But you need to be smart. You go into these areas alone again, you might end up missing too. Then I'd have to call your husband and explain how we found your body in a dumpster." He wasn't trying to be cruel. He was being honest. But honesty didn't save my daughter. My money ran out in week 14. The credit cards were maxed, my savings account emptied. Robert had been sending money, but I could hear the strain in his voice during our calls. "Patricia, you've been gone for almost 4 months. Your job is gone. Marcus needs you. I need you. When are you coming home?" "I can't," I said for the 100th time. "Not without her. What if she's not coming back?" His voice broke. "What if we lose you too?" I couldn't answer that because the truth was, I was already lost. I'd crossed some invisible line where normal life existed on one side, and this desperate search existed on the other, and I couldn't find my way back. I moved to an even cheaper motel, then to a weekly rate place that smelled like mildew and cigarettes. I ate once a day, usually whatever free food I could get at shelters or churches. I lost 25 pounds, my clothes hanging off my frame. People who'd seen me around started treating me differently. Not as a concerned mother, but as one of the desperate ones. The ones who'd been searching so long they'd become part of the street landscape themselves. I met other searching parents. A father looking for his son who'd disappeared 3 years earlier. A grandmother seeking her granddaughter. We'd sit in coffee shops, our sad little support group, sharing leads that went nowhere and keeping each other from complete despair. "You have to know when to stop," the father told me one day. His name was George, and his eyes held an emptiness I recognized in mirrors. That's what my therapist says. You have to accept that maybe they don't want to be found. But she called me, I insisted. She said she wanted to come home. Then why didn't she tell you where she was? George asked gently. Patricia, I say this with love. At some point, you're not saving them. You're just drowning yourself. It happened on a gray Tuesday afternoon. I was walking through Pike Place Market, handing out flyers to tourists who looked at me with pity and discomfort. I turned a corner and froze. There, 50 feet away, standing outside a coffee shop, was Emma. She looked different. Thinner, hair shorter and dyed black, her clothes worn and dirty. But it was her. I knew my daughter's posture, the way she held her shoulders, the tilt of her head. "Emma!" I screamed, not caring who heard or stared. She turned. Our eyes met. For one perfect moment, recognition flashed across her face. Then she ran. I chased her through the market, pushing past startled shoppers, knocking over a display of flowers. She was faster, younger, more desperate. But I was her mother, and desperation gave me speed I didn't know I had. "Emma, wait, please!" I shouted, gasping for breath. She ducked into an alley, and I followed without thinking. It was a dead end. She pressed herself against the far wall, eyes wild with panic. "Baby!" I panted, holding up my hands in surrender. "I'm not here to hurt you or drag you home. I just want to talk, please, 5 minutes." "You shouldn't have come here," she said, her voice hoarse. "You need to leave Seattle. Forget about me." "I can't do that. You're my daughter. I love you." "You don't know what I've done," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "The things I've—" "Mom, you don't want me back. I'm not that girl anymore." I stepped closer, and she flinched. That flinch broke something in me. "I don't care what you've done or what's been done to you. You're 18 now, legally an adult. You can walk away from whoever's controlling you. We can get help. There are resources, programs. You think I haven't tried?" She screamed suddenly, all her calm shattering. "You think I want this? There's nowhere to go, Mom. Jason has eyes everywhere. He'll find me. He'll hurt you, hurt Marcus, hurt everyone I love to make a point. The only way to keep you safe is to stay away. Then we go to the police together. The police can't help." She laughed bitterly. "Half of them are on Jason's payroll. The other half don't care. We're just whores to them, disposable." The word hit me like a slap. My baby, my beautiful baby, talking about herself that way. "You are not disposable," I said fiercely. "You are Emma Marie Anderson. You are my daughter. You are smart and talented and loved, and I will not let you believe otherwise." For a moment she softened. I saw my little girl in her eyes, the one who used to curl up in my lap and ask me to read her favorite book for the 100th time. "I miss you, Mom," she whispered. "I miss home. I miss being clean and safe and normal. Then come with me, right now. We'll get on a plane tonight." She took one step toward me, then another. We were so close I could smell the cigarettes and cheap perfume on her clothes. Then a man appeared at the mouth of the alley. Tall, well-dressed, with cold eyes and a smile that made my skin crawl. "Emma, sweetheart," he said in a smooth voice. "Your break's over. Time to get back to work." This had to be Jason. Emma's entire body went rigid. The softness vanished from her eyes, replaced by terror. "I told you she was trouble," Jason continued, looking at me with disgust. "Mothers always are. So emotional. So unwilling to accept that their daughters make choices." "She's 18, I said, trying to keep my voice from shaking. "She can leave if she wants." "Can she?" Jason laughed. "Emma, tell your mom how much you owe me. For food, for shelter, for protection, for the opportunities I've given you. Go ahead." Emma stared at the ground, her hands trembling. $43,000, she whispered. The number hit me like a truck. $43,000, an impossible sum. "You see," Jason said, "your daughter is free to leave any time she pays her debt. Until then, she works for me. Those are the terms she agreed to." "You're trafficking her," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "This is illegal. I'll go to the police, the FBI." And tell them what? That an adult woman chose to work in the service industry? That she signed a contract? He pulled out a piece of paper from his jacket. "Everything's legal, Mrs. Anderson. Ask your daughter." I looked at Emma, begging her silently to deny it, but she just stood there, defeated. "Emma, please," I whispered. "I'm sorry, Mom," she said, not meeting my eyes. "You should go home. Take care of Marcus. Forget about me." "I will never forget about you," I said fiercely. Jason moved between us. "This conversation is over. Emma, car, now!" She walked past me like a ghost. As she passed, she pressed something into my hand, a folded piece of paper. Then she was gone, climbing into a black SUV with tinted windows. Jason followed, pausing only to say, Next time I see you, Mrs. Anderson, you won't walk away. Seattle's a dangerous city. Accidents happen. The SUV drove away, leaving me alone in the alley, clutching the piece of paper. I unfolded it with shaking hands. An address. Nothing else. Just an address in what I recognized as a neighborhood south of downtown. Hope. Terrifying, fragile hope. I went to Detective Williams with the address. He ran it through his system, and his face went pale. Mrs. Anderson, this address. We've had it flagged for months. It's connected to a major trafficking operation. We can't just raid it without evidence, without coordination. Then get evidence. Get coordination, I pleaded. My daughter is in there. I know, he said quietly. And I promise you, we're building a case. But these things take time. If we move too soon, they'll scatter, and we'll lose everyone. How much time? Weeks, maybe months. I didn't have months. Emma didn't have months. That night, I did something incredibly stupid. I went to the address alone. It was a house in a quiet residential neighborhood. Nothing about it screamed crime. Just a normal 2-story home with a neat lawn and curtains in the windows. I watched from across the street for hours. Occasionally, people came and went. Men in expensive cars, girls in revealing clothes. Business as usual, apparently. Around 2 a.m., when the traffic slowed, I approached the house. I had no plan, no weapon, nothing except desperation. I tried the front door, locked. The back door, also locked. But a window on the first floor was slightly open, probably for ventilation. I squeezed through, landing in a laundry room that smelled of detergent and something else. Fear, maybe, or despair. The house was quiet. I moved through it like a ghost, checking rooms. A kitchen. A living room with plastic-covered furniture. Stairs leading up. I climbed them carefully, avoiding the squeaky steps. Upstairs were 4 bedrooms. I checked each one. In the third room, I found her. Emma was asleep on a mattress on the floor, wearing nothing but a tank top and underwear. Another girl slept beside her, blonde and impossibly young. I knelt beside Emma, gently shaking her shoulder. Emma, wake up. Her eyes flew open, terror immediately taking over. When she saw me, that terror multiplied. Mom, what are you doing here? You need to leave right now. I'm taking you with me, I whispered urgently. Get dressed, quickly. I can't. Jason will kill us both. Then we call the police from outside. But I'm not leaving without you. The blonde girl woke up. She couldn't have been more than 15. Who's that? She asked sleepily. My mom, Emma said. And in her voice I heard something I hadn't heard in months. Hope. I grabbed Emma's clothes from a pile in the corner. Put these on, both of you. We're leaving, now. But as Emma started to dress, we heard footsteps on the stairs. Someone's coming, the blonde girl whispered, panic rising in her voice. I looked around frantically for a way out. The window, too high. The closet, too obvious. The bedroom door opened. Jason stood in the doorway, and he was not alone. 2 large men flanked him, both carrying guns. Mrs. Anderson, Jason said with mock surprise. Breaking and entering is illegal. I could call the police. Oh wait, I won't need to. They're already on their way. I called them as soon as my security system alerted me to an intruder. These girls are being held against their will, I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. Are they? Jason looked at Emma. Emma, am I holding you against your will? Emma looked at me, then at the guns, then back at me. Tears streamed down her face. No, she whispered. I'm here voluntarily. And you? Jason asked the blonde girl. Voluntarily, she echoed, her voice barely audible. See? Jason smiled. Just consenting adults making choices. Now, officers! 2 police officers appeared behind Jason. My heart sank. This woman broke into my house, Jason explained smoothly. I want to press charges. The officers looked at me with a mix of pity and exhaustion. Ma'am, you need to come with us. But these girls... Ma'am, please don't make this harder than it needs to be. I looked at Emma one last time. She mouthed 2 words. I'm sorry. Then the officers were leading me out, handcuffing me, reading me my rights. The last thing I saw was Emma standing in the doorway of that room, looking small and broken and impossibly far away. I spent the night in jail. The charges were eventually dropped. Jason decided not to press them, probably because he didn't want the attention. But the message was clear. Stay away, or else. Detective Williams picked me up the next morning. He drove me to a diner and bought me coffee I didn't want. "Patricia, I need you to understand something," he said. "What you did last night could have gotten you killed. It could have gotten Emma killed. It could have blown our entire investigation." "Investigation?" I laughed bitterly. "What investigation? It's been going on for months and nothing's happened. These things take time. We need to be careful, methodical. Emma doesn't have time." I slammed my hand on the table, startling other diners. "Every day she's in there, more damage is done, more trauma, more." I couldn't finish, couldn't say the words out loud. Detective Williams sighed. "I know, believe me, I know. I've got a daughter too. But if you keep interfering, you're going to end up dead, and then who helps Emma?" He was right. I knew he was right. But it didn't make the helplessness any easier to bear. That afternoon, I called Robert. "I'm coming home," I said, the words like poison on my tongue. Silence on the other end. Then, "Thank God. Patricia, thank God. I found her," I continued. "But I can't. I can't get her out. Not by myself. I need help. Legal help, maybe. I don't know. But I can't do this alone anymore." "You were never alone," Robert said, his voice thick with emotion. "I should have come out there with you from the start. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." We both cried then, connected by phone lines and shared grief. I flew home the next day. Marcus met me at the airport, and when he saw me, thin, exhausted, defeated, he burst into tears. "Is she okay?" he asked. "Did you see her?" "She's alive," I said, because that was all I could promise. "She's alive." At home, I collapsed into my own bed for the first time in 5 months. The sheets smelled like home, like laundry detergent and Michigan summers, and everything I'd lost. I thought I'd sleep, but instead I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, every decision, every failure. How had I lost my daughter? Where had I gone wrong? The questions circled endlessly, offering no answers. The next 3 months were agony. I was home, but not really. My body was in Michigan, but my mind was in Seattle, wondering what Emma was doing, if she was safe, if she thought about me. Detective Williams called weekly with updates that weren't really updates. "We're making progress. We're building the case. We need more time." I saw a therapist. She diagnosed me with PTSD, depression, anxiety. She prescribed pills I sometimes took and sometimes flushed down the toilet. She told me I needed to accept that I couldn't save Emma, that Emma had to want to save herself. But how do you accept that? How do you just give up on your child? I joined a support group for parents of trafficking victims. We met in the basement of a church every Thursday evening. 8 parents, all of us broken in the same way, all of us carrying the same impossible weight. A mother named Carol had been searching for her daughter for 7 years. 7 years of false leads and dead ends and crushed hopes. "Eventually," she told me over weak coffee, "you have to decide if you're going to let this destroy you. The guilt, the what-ifs, the constant wondering. It'll eat you alive if you let it." "How do you stop it?" I asked. She smiled sadly. "You don't. You just learn to live with it. Some days are better than others." At home, I tried to be present for Marcus. I went to his football games, cooked dinners, helped with homework. But he could see through the performance. "Mom, you don't have to pretend," he said one night. "I miss her too. It's okay to be sad." His permission to grieve somehow made it worse. Robert and I started couples therapy. Our marriage had been hanging by a thread, and Emma's disappearance had pulled that thread taut. Some days I blamed him for being too strict. He blamed me for being too lenient. We both blamed ourselves. "The worst part," I told the therapist, "is that I keep thinking about all the moments I could have done something different. If I'd noticed sooner, if I'd been more understanding, if I'd just listened." "Patricia," the therapist interrupted gently, "you cannot change the past. You can only control what you do now." But what could I do now? I was powerless, trapped in Michigan while my daughter was trapped in Seattle. 6 months after I'd returned home, Detective Williams called with real news. "Patricia, we're making our move tomorrow. We have enough evidence to raid multiple locations, including the house where Emma is." My heart stopped. "Is she still there?" "We believe so," But I need you to understand. This is a large operation. There will be multiple arrests, multiple victims. Emma may not want to leave. Many trafficking victims don't initially cooperate because they're scared or because they've been psychologically manipulated. I understand, I said, though I didn't really. The raid happens at 6 a.m. I'll call you as soon as we secure the locations. That night, I didn't sleep. I paced, prayed, cried, hoped. Robert sat up with me, holding my hand, neither of us speaking. Marcus came downstairs around 3 a.m. I can't sleep either, he admitted. We sat together in the living room, the three of us, waiting for dawn. At 6:15 a.m., my phone rang. Patricia, we have her. We have Emma. I screamed. Actually screamed with relief. Robert and Marcus jumped up, both talking at once, asking questions I couldn't answer yet. Is she okay? I asked Detective Williams. The only question that mattered. She's safe. Physically, she's relatively unharmed. Mentally, emotionally, that's going to take time. We've taken her to the hospital for evaluation. She's asking for you. I'm on my way. I'm getting on the first flight. Patricia, wait. You should know. She's not the girl you remember. This experience has changed her. You need to be prepared for that. I don't care, I said. I don't care what she's been through or how she's changed. She's my daughter and I love her. The flight to Seattle felt longer than the flight home had. Every minute stretched into an eternity. I couldn't sit still, couldn't focus, could barely breathe. Robert came with me this time. Marcus stayed with my mother, wanting to come, but understanding that the reunion should be private first. At the hospital, a social worker met us outside Emma's room. She's been through significant trauma, the social worker explained in a clinical tone. She's malnourished, dehydrated, and showing signs of substance withdrawal. Psychologically, she's displaying symptoms of PTSD and Stockholm Syndrome. She's been asking for Jason, insisting she needs to go back. Can we see her? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Yes, but please, try to stay calm. Don't push her to talk about what happened. Just let her know you're here and you love her. We entered the room. Emma lay in the bed, hooked up to IVs, looking so small and fragile that my heart shattered all over again. Emma, I whispered. She turned her head. When she saw me, her face crumpled. Mom, she sobbed. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I ran to the bed, gathering her in my arms, feeling her shake with sobs that seemed to come from her very soul. Shh, baby, it's okay. You're safe now. You're safe. I'm not. She pulled back, eyes wild. You don't understand. Jason will find me. He always finds the ones who try to leave. He'll hurt you. He'll hurt Marcus. Jason is in jail, Robert said firmly from the doorway. He can't hurt anyone anymore. Emma looked at her father as if seeing him for the first time. Daddy? The word broke him. My strong, stoic husband started crying, really crying, for the first time since this nightmare began. We stayed with Emma all day and into the night. Sometimes she talked, fragmented stories about Seattle, about the other girls, about things I wished I'd never have to imagine my daughter experiencing. Other times she just stared at the wall, lost in memories or trauma or grief. As evening fell, she asked the question I'd been dreading. Can I come home? Of course, I said immediately. You never stopped being part of our family. Your room is exactly as you left it. But what if I don't fit anymore? What if I'm too broken? I took her face in my hands. Emma Marie Anderson, you listen to me. You are not broken. You are hurt. There's a difference. Broken things can't be fixed. Hurt things heal with time and love and help. And you have all three of those waiting for you. She cried again, but this time it felt different. Like the first rain after a long drought. Like grief that might someday transform into healing. What about the other girls? She asked. There were so many others. Some of them so young. They're safe too, Detective Williams said from the doorway. I hadn't heard him come in. We rescued 23 young women from various locations. They'll all get the help they need. 23. My daughter had been one of 23. What happens now? I asked. Emma will need to give a statement when she's ready. There will be trials, lots of them. It won't be easy. But the main thing is she's free. Free, such a small word for something so enormous. The first week home was the hardest. Emma slept most of the time, waking from nightmares that left her screaming and disoriented. She refused to eat anything but crackers and water. She flinched at every sudden sound, every raised voice. Marcus tried to connect with his twin sister, but she pushed him away. "I'm not the same person you knew," she told him. "I don't know if I'll ever be that person again." "I don't care," Marcus said, echoing what I'd told Detective Williams months ago. "You're still my sister. You're still Emma." "I go by Ember now," she said quietly. Emma died in Seattle. That hurt more than I could express. Like she'd left a piece of herself behind, a piece we could never retrieve. We got her into therapy, a woman who specialized in trauma and trafficking victims. Dr. Lisa Chen was gentle but direct, never pushing but always encouraging Emma to process what had happened. After the first session, Emma came out looking exhausted. "How was it?" I asked. "Hard. She makes me talk about things I don't want to remember." "You don't have to keep going if—" "No," Emma interrupted. "I need to. She said if I don't deal with it now, it'll come out in worse ways later." I believe her. Slowly, painfully, Emma began to heal. Some days were better than others. She started eating more. She stopped flinching quite so much. She even smiled occasionally, though it never quite reached her eyes. The trial was set for 6 months later. Emma would have to testify against Jason and his organization. The lawyer preparing her for it warned us it would be brutal. Defense attorneys will try to make it seem like Emma chose this life. They'll bring up her history of running away, her age when she left, anything to muddy the waters. You need to be prepared for them to attack her character. "Let them try," I said fiercely. "We'll be there every day, supporting her." And we were. When Emma took the stand, pale and shaking but determined, the entire family sat in the front row. Robert, Marcus, my mother, even some of Emma's old friends who'd heard she was back. Emma told her story in a voice that sometimes broke but never stopped. She described the grooming, the manipulation, the violence, the fear. She cried. We all cried. The defense attorney did exactly what the prosecutor had warned us about. He painted Emma as a willing participant, a girl who knew what she was getting into. "Isn't it true," he said smugly, "that you called this man your boyfriend? That you told friends you were in love?" "I was 16, Emma said, her voice steady despite the tears. "He was 34. He targeted me because I was vulnerable and alone. He told me I was special, that he loved me, that we'd have a life together. I believed him because I was a child. And when I tried to leave, he threatened my family. He beat me. He controlled every aspect of my life through drugs and debt and fear. So no, I didn't choose this. No one chooses this." The courtroom was silent. Even the defense attorney looked shaken. Jason was convicted on 43 counts of human trafficking, sexual exploitation, and racketeering. He was sentenced to 35 years in federal prison. When the verdict was read, Emma collapsed into my arms, sobbing with relief. "It's over," I whispered. "It's finally over." But of course, it wasn't really over. Trauma doesn't end with a verdict. Recovery isn't linear. 2 years after Emma came home, life had found a new normal. Not the old normal. That was gone forever. But a different kind of normal, one built on honesty and healing and love. Emma finished high school through an online program. She couldn't face going back to a regular classroom, being around people who knew her story, or people who didn't, but would find out. She got accepted to a small college in Michigan that had programs for trauma survivors. She decided to major in social work. "I want to help girls like me," she explained. "I want to be the person I needed when I was lost." Marcus and Emma's relationship slowly repaired. They'd never be exactly like they were before. That twin connection had been damaged. But they rebuilt something new. Something stronger, maybe, because it was based on surviving trauma and choosing family. One afternoon, Emma and I were sitting in the backyard, watching the sunset. "Mom," she said quietly, "I need to tell you something." My heart clenched, fearing bad news. "What is it, honey?" "I forgive you." I blinked, confused. "Forgive me? For what?" "For all the things you blamed yourself for. For not noticing sooner. For being too strict, or not strict enough. For whatever ways you think you failed. I forgive you." It wasn't your fault. It was Jason's fault. And it was my fault too, for running away, for not listening, for thinking I knew better. Tears streamed down my face. You were 16, a child. None of this was your fault. And you were just a mom doing her best. None of it was your fault either. We sat in silence, both crying, both healing just a little bit more. Thank you for never giving up on me, Emma whispered. Even when I gave up on myself, even when it was dangerous and stupid, you kept looking. I would look forever, I said. That's what mothers do. Now, 5 years later, Emma, she goes by Emma again, having reclaimed that name, volunteers at a nonprofit that helps trafficking survivors. She speaks at schools about the dangers of grooming and exploitation. She lives in her own apartment, has a job she loves, and is dating a kind man who knows her story and loves her anyway. She's not fixed. She still has bad days. Therapy is ongoing. Certain things trigger flashbacks or anxiety. But she's living, really living, not just surviving. As for me, I run a support group for parents of missing and exploited children. I share my story because I know how isolating that fear and grief can be. I want other parents to know they're not alone. People sometimes ask if I regret the 5 months I spent searching for Emma. The money I lost, the job I lost, the toll it took on my health and my marriage. The answer is simple: no, not for a single second. Because Emma came home, not everyone does. Carol from my support group is still searching for her daughter after 10 years. George found his son in a morgue. Linda's daughter overdosed before anyone could save her. But Emma came home. And every day she's here is a gift I'll never take for granted. To anyone reading this who's searching for someone they love, don't give up. Keep posting flyers. Keep calling police. Keep showing up. Because even when hope feels impossible, even when everyone tells you to move on, your presence matters. Sometimes love isn't enough to save someone, but sometimes it is. And sometimes, on the darkest nights, when you can't imagine going on, that sometimes is enough to keep you searching. Emma came home, and today, watching her laugh with her nieces, Marcus's twin daughters, named Patricia and Marie, I know that every moment of that search was worth it. Every tear, every fear, every sleepless night. All of it led to this: my daughter, alive, healing, home. And that's everything!